Hey up everybody and welcome back. Right, well, we're going to press on with this. First, I've got to answer a couple of comments. I've answered them online, but there was a couple of things mentioned. First of all, Bamber Gascoigne, you're quite right, it was a starter for 10. For our US viewers, you won't know what we're talking about, but anyway, there you go. Now, what else? Well, the main thing, do you know, there was 2 or 3 things I was going to mention. Bugger me, I've forgotten them. That was one of them. Somebody was really pleased that I said bugger me, or bugger that, or whatever. Anyway, you remember I did the forks last week. You see I put a pair of handlebars on just because it's easier to move things around. These handlebars I bought, they're the right rise, but they pull back too much. But when I was talking to the chap on the phone, it sounded like they were the right ones. If they were just a little bit straighter here, they'd be about perfect for the ones that they put on the C15T. Alright, so what was I going to say? Alright, so you remember the forks were this sort of B44 / TRW25 hybrid. And actually, I did get one comment from a chap who has a 68 TR25W and he said these are the forks on it. Anyway, I had another comment from a chap who's worked on these who pointed out something which I had found out. When we strip these, I don't know if you noticed, let's have a look here. There was a thing on them just here in between the bush and the fork seal. And it's got 2 or 3 different diameters. So when I was rebuilding these, I was pretty sure that when I took it off, because I laid everything out, that it went with the wider part to the top. But when I looked in the parts book, it had it the other way around, with the wider part at the bottom. So that's how I put them together. Put them in, as you saw, everything was finished like last week. And then I put the handlebars on and took it down off the stand. And the suspension, they just wouldn't move. They're just the same move. And I thought, So I went and these here, I pulled out another pair. And I looked at the video, and sure enough, it goes on with the wider bit at the top. So I put them back together like that, and they work fine. Well, the comment was from a chap who, as I say, had the same forks. He'd had the same problem, and in what's his name, Rupert Ratio's other book, because he does one for engine, one for sort of cycle parts, he mentioned that the diagram in the parts book is wrong. So that was annoying because I had to take them back, I'd put the wheel in and everything, I had to take them all back apart. But as with all of the little jobs, like those of you who remember the Royal Enfield gearbox, if you have to do it 2 or 3 times, you eventually settle on the right way to do it, and then it's really quick afterwards. So anyway, that's that. Now then, this week we're going to do the front mud guard, but I don't think I have enough of the 1/2-inch tube I'm going to make the mud guard stays with. So I'll order that. And my supply for that, it's next day delivery, so that's fine. So what we're going to start with is putting the headlamp on. And one of the other reasons I put the handlebars on was so that I've got somewhere to hang the dip switch and stuff like that, so I'll know where they're going to go. Alright, so let's put the headlamp on, start with the wiring at this end, and we'll move back a little bit. And then actually, by the time I got all that done, because I've done a couple of other little jobs today, plus I have to keep popping backwards and forwards to the house to see if Linda's alright. She's hurt her back. She was working in the garden yesterday on this brick wall, and I went out, and there she is carrying this great big load of bricks, and I said to her, don't do that, make 2 or 3 trips. So anyway, let's do the headlight. Oh, almost forgot there, was one of the a comment I've been waiting for the entire time I've been doing YouTubes. I forgot your name, of course. Mentioned, didn't know that Michael Caine built motorbikes. Do you know, since I was about 40, I don't know how many people have literally come up to me and said, oh, you don't have to look like Michael Caine. So there you go. Let's do some work. We're going to put the headlamp shell in first. This is the little black one. Hang on, I might have to open you out a bit here. Hold on a second. Yeah, there we go. That's better. This is the little black one I bought. And you remember it didn't have a hole in. Well, I almost slipped up. I've put a hole in it with a little fan to take this nice little switch. I think this is B44. But when I did it, I forgot about the little clamp that holds the light unit in. And it was one of those things, I thought about it up at the house on the evening, and I'm thinking, damn. So next morning, rushed out here, and I just have enough room with this to get the light switch in. So, breathe easy there. Right, now what I've got is two little spacers, just to keep us right on each side. I put a rubber in for the wires to come through the bottom. Okay, so that goes in there. That goes on there. And these are actually 5/16 UNF. So I've got a feeling they must be made in the US. Oh, the heating's come on. Hold on a second, I'll try and catch it before. That should click off again in a second. There you go. So the one on the other side is always the awkward one to get in. See if we can just... There we go. Right, so let me tighten that up. Now before I put this light switch in, which goes in there, it's got a little doodad. There it is. Again, stop it turning around. That goes in there, like that. But it's going to be a bit awkward to get the wires. So as it comes in from the bottom, I will, oh no, it doesn't, it goes in from the top. But we can still put the wires on. I could have sworn that went in from the bottom. No, it can't do, can it? Waffling again, people. Anyway, let's put some wires on it and we'll do the actual light unit. Now I'm going to start off doing the headlamp unit, putting it into the chrome rim. So we're going to use W clips for this, but the first thing is to get ourselves oriented correctly. This bit that sticks up here hooks into a hole, or slot I should say, in the bottom of the headlamp shell. So you want to make sure this goes in the right way up. Apart from anything else, it looks stupid if the name is upside down, but also of course your filaments are going to be the wrong way, so your high beam could be pointing to the side or to the bottom, and so on. So you're going to put this to there, but of course once you put it in you can't see it. So what I always do, in order to keep myself right, because things tend to move around while you're getting these W clips in, is I make a mark on the inside so I know where I am. Right, so we get that. Next thing you'll find inside, I don't know if they all have this, my mind's going, I can't remember, but there'll be a couple of little tabs. They're quite soft, you can bend them out the way. You bend them up a little bit, get your light unit so your mark is at the bottom, and you put that in there, like that. He says, hang on. Doing things never work when you're trying to film them, do you know that? Let me bend these tabs up a little bit more. They actually fall where one of these things is. So that come on. I've got to fold them right up. Now you see, I could edit this out, but hey, the truth is the truth. There it goes. Now then, that's in there. So there's our black line to there. As I say, that fits. I'm hoping you can see all this. So I'm going to fold them down. And they're going to hold our lamp where we need it to be. So the next thing is a W clip, named W clip for obvious reasons. Now what happens here is that goes onto the edge of the light unit, and these things get pushed underneath the lip of the chrome. Now, like all sort of things made by different people, some of these are easy to put under, some of them are not, and you need to use, just brought them, there we go, pair of pliers. I'm hoping all this is staying in picture, and that goes under there like that. Can you see that? And then what we're going to do now is put the rest of them going round, and there's our bottom, and there's our words the right way. So let me put in some more of these W clips, and then we'll find some wire and we'll do the light switch. Now I've put 4 clips in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see, that is in nice and solid. So the next thing to look at is the wiring. So I bought a dip switch, and I like to buy the ones with the built-in horn button. So here we come across the problem of buying things from various manufacturers. Now, why these people can't sort of think about this before they build them. 4 wires, which is right, but 3 of these wires are going to go up to the headlamp, and the ones that come from the headlamp are a completely different set of colours. Even the blue one actually doesn't match up, I don't think. But anyway, so what do we want the 4 wires for? Let me make sure you're staying in focus here. Okay, the 4 wires are a power in, which we're going to take, hopefully, is this red and black. But where does the power come from? The power comes from the light switch. We're going to have power up to the light switch, and then this is just an on-off. When we want to switch the lights on, the power comes out of the light switch, but it doesn't go to the light. It goes up here, as I say, hopefully in red and black. And then it comes back down, depending on where you've set the switch, to either high, main beam, or low, dip beam. Then the 4th one is for the horn. The circuit for the horn is power goes to one side of the horn, and from the other side it comes up, goes to this. When you press the button, you earth it, and there's your circuit for the horn. So what we're going to do is get the multimeter out and find out which of these, I'm hoping it's these 3, it should be these 3, are going to be the power in and the 2 power outs for the headlight. And then on this one, I'm pretty sure that this one here is going to earth, and then one is high, one is low beam. So, oh yeah, we should be able to have blue to blue. That's nice. All right, let's get the meter out and check this. I'll put the switch on the handlebar, just so that the insides don't fall out. And I started filming this and then stopped and did a little experimentation, because these wires, well, to me anyway, didn't make any sense. So I've got my multimeter out, set to continuity with the beeper, right? And I have discovered, I'm going to stick that one in the handlebar, so it's the equivalent of earth, that red and black, totally unexpected, is the horn. Nothing. 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 Red and black. Alright, then I've also discovered, I've got to check this here, that it's the blue and white which is the power in. So this is going to come from the headlight switch. Where are we? And we've got blue is live there. Nothing at red and black. Nothing at brown or blue. And then when we flick the switch, nothing at blue, brown, nothing at red and black. So I didn't expect that at all. But anyway, it does mean that blue goes yeah, so blue will go to blue on there, which is nice. Alright, so let's see about what happens in the headlight. I've put some connectors on the end of the wires from the dip switch, so that they crimp on tight, but I always put shrink wrap on as well. And then these two here, which are, I've run a red wire that's going to go all the way to the back for power, and the blue and white from the dip switch are going to go into this. So I've tinned the ends or soldered the ends, or whatever you want to put it, so that they don't break up when they get crimped. It's going to go on there like that. Uh-oh, here comes the heater again. And actually I've got a bit too much solder on the end of that. I can't get it in. So let me deal with that excess solder. Got those both screwed in there now. So that goes in there. And there we go. There's a little sort of spring washer. You know, I'm going to take that out. It's just too close. I would have been so annoyed if this hadn't have fitted. Well, annoyed is an understatement. Right, that goes up on there. Would you believe it, look, I've put the wires through there, the wrong, one from one side, one from the other side. But fortunately, this red one isn't connected to anything. So I can just pull it out. I tell you. Okay, we'll try again. Now, to get that, I think, with an adjustable spanner, so let me do that. I've got the switch tightened in, got my wires ready. As you may remember, I don't like using the frame or the metal bits for the earth. I always like to run direct earth. So there's an earth, and I've put that with the red wire and put some shrink fit round it, so that will look nice. Okay, so let's go. White one. Oh, for God's sake. I've put a bloody nail on both ends. Oh, let me turn you off again. Telling me brains are brand new. Alright. So, white is our earth. And then these two are the high and low beam. Okay. Now then, we've got a little Well, it's not so little actually. Should put that on before I put those in. Oh, they're good and tight. Oh, hold on. Well, I must be getting tired. A, I was pulling on the wrong end of these. B, it goes on like that. Where was I? White goes to earth. It's a pity it's not a black one, but never mind. None of them actually match. And then they go together. I was pulling and pulling then off camera, and then I thought, wait a minute, I'm not pulling that out of there. There's a little tab inside here that you can use to press down and hold the wires in. Okay, now we can plug that onto there. And where is it? A little thing goes into the slot. That goes up onto there. Is that just turning round? Sometimes the little thing in there gets itself twisted sideways and it's not actually, yeah, but that's good and tight. Alrighty ho! Now then, let's tighten that up a little bit. What do we want for that? One with a yellow handle. There it is. Tight. And tight. There's two positions for, I guess one is when you have the little side light in there, but I don't see how it works when there's only two terminals. Must be just two on positions, just in case you forget. In the middle's off, either side is on. Alright, I'm going to pull you back so you can see that. And there it is with the headlamp on. Yeah, I think black one goes better than a chrome one there. I've got it on the, excuse me, as far out as it'll come here because we have to put a clock on the top. I'm not sure exactly where the clock's going to go yet, so that might go back a little bit. That looks nice. I like black when you've got a little slash of chrome occasionally here and there. That's why I didn't like the S7 Sunbeams. Black handlebars, you know, black rims, black tyres, black forks. It just was a... S8 came out with a little slash of chrome for the handlebars and the rims and things. World's better. Alright, let's do something else. Now, in this cover, we have a hole to fill in because there was an extra little flick switch. And there's a bunch of ways you could do this, but I thought I'd do something slightly different this time. For those of you who don't have all the stuff that I have. For instance, with this, we could cut a little piece, weld it in, planish it out and everything, or we could put a bit of copper behind it, and we could just slowly fill the hole up with weld, which is all well and good if you've got a welder. I mean, I don't know if you could do that with a stick welder, that would be a bit much. So, probably do it with a MIG, you could certainly do it with a TIG, you could certainly do it with gas, but not everybody's got that. But what nearly everybody's got, or can get hold of, is some solder and a little propane torch. So what we're going to do is, I've cut a small piece, it's just bigger than that. We're going to turn this over, and we're going to make a little ring of solder pop that on top and then just heat it up. The solder will melt, it'll go split. And there's our patch in. Then from the other side, when we get to it, you could either fill this up with some body filler, or you could just finish off with some solder. So let's get this done. Hold on a second. I didn't have anything to cut the solder with, so first thing we do is we make a little ring of solder. Let me just do that off camera, as the technical term is, and that's going to go on there, and that's going to go on top of that. So the first thing we need is some flux. This is actually a bit of flux core wire, soldering wire, but for jobs like this I always like to put sort of proper solder on, because apart from anything else it holds everything in place. Then this goes on, all nicely cleaned. And then hopefully this will work. Better than, there we go. Oh, that propane bottle's empty. Hold on. I've changed the propane bottle and little red lights on the camera for the battery. Okay. So just heat this up and see it flop down there. Now we just let that cool. And I'll change the battery in the camera. And there we go. See, there's our piece in there. You can see a little bit of the solder sticking out. It's nice and flat. So we're going to fill that in with some solder. So I'm just putting it on here, so we'll have something to hold it up, just in case, you know. The problem with solder is always when you're trying to add extra, if you just put a bit too much heat in, suddenly it comes apart again. So that'll hold it together while we solder that in there. Let me get the thicker solder. I'll put a bit more flux in, and I've got some thicker solder. Let's see if we can fill this up. That's gone through the hole, see? I must admit my soldering is pretty poor. Always has been. Can't solder wires to save my life. I weld fine. Right, bit overkill, but anyway, we'll sand that off and that should be a good repair. And there it is, repaired. As I say, my solder is not perfect. There's a couple of little pinholes, but that's nothing that the nice thick primer filler that I use won't deal with. So there's that hole done. Now what I've also done is open this hole out. Hold on a sec. Now what should be in this hole is one of the little Lucas ignition switches, you know, with a nice chrome. I've got the chrome piece that goes around it, flat piece. But they are designed, they've got that stupid little, for those of you who don't know it, the ignition key is just a little flat piece of metal. And it has like a spade end. Well, oh, hang on, someone's in trouble. Alright, so as I say, they have a little spade end, and for those of you old enough to remember, you could switch them on and off with a screwdriver. So that didn't seem brilliant. Also, that was for the 6-volt system. And when you looked at the terminals on the back, there was lots of them, because the 6-volt system actually used to switch some of the alternator current through the lights, because it didn't have a way like a Zener diode to deal with overcharge. But anyway, I didn't want one of those because I only have a couple of wires to go on the back for the electrical system we're going to use. So I rummaged around and I found one of these. Well, I found a couple of them actually. And these have a proper key. They only have 3 terminals. They're basically on and off, which is exactly what I wanted. So I opened that out. Not a brilliant job. With a flat to match the, where is it? There it is. The flat on there, and that's to stop it turning when you turn the key. So now that goes in there like that. And I think that will look fine. I was going to make a hole bigger in the little chrome trim. I actually bought one of the chrome trims, but I decided against it. So that goes in there, and now we have a proper ignition key. And you'll see when we come to do the wiring that it all fits together nicely. So now you see I've got a key that doesn't come out. One interesting thing with this, you know, when you get these locks, these and the bigger Lucas one, you see, can you see? Yeah. You see that there's an inside to it. And it's actually in 2 pieces, of course. So that, I don't even know if you can get keys, but you can get a key and a new tumbler, if you like. And they have a hole on them. When you look in the hole, there's a little plunger. You press the plunger in, and with the key, you can pull that out. I have 2 of these switches. There's no plunger there. There's a spring in everything. I cannot find a way to get that out. So I had to go and rummage around, and I found another one with a key. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. So now this side panel, no, this center panel I should say, I can finish sandblasting it and we can be ready to paint that. So let's go do something else. I've carried on with the wiring, and actually it's been pretty frustrating because every time I thought I was sorted with the headlamp, I'd remember another wire, and I would have already shrink wrapped it and I'd have to cut it off. So anyway, I think we're all set, and what I'm going to do in a moment is show you a wiring diagram I drew up. One thing was I was wondering where to put the horn. Now on the C15T, the horn is actually set into that center panel in between the oil tank and the toolbox. But I didn't want it down there, so I was trying to think where to put it. Commonly they're on the front engine mounting. But it suddenly struck me, if I used a small 12 volt, which are really noisy, and I happen to have one laid around, I could fit it in here behind the headlamp. So that was done. So all the headlamp now is completely finished off. Let's have a look at the main wiring connectors and the components. Here's what we've got at the main junction of everything. So we've got 3 wires coming here from the headlamp. You can just see them there. Red is going to be power up to the headlamp. Black is the earth from the headlamp. And the green is to go to the rear light, so that when I switch the headlight on, the backlight comes on. Now, I had one chap worry that wires weren't going to reach, but don't worry, everything's going to reach. These are the 2 yellow wires which will go to the yellow wires on the generator, and these are the ones which go to the ignition part on the generator. And these 5 wires, 2 yellows, black, white and blue, have corresponding wires coming up from the electronics in the generator. I'll show you something interesting about this capacitor thing in a second, but the red and black into there is from the voltage regulator up there. So the yellows take the power up into the AC into that. It's rectified and regulated, and it comes out down these black and red wires which go into this thing, and then the black and red, which is live and earth, come out of there. The red's connected to here and the black's connected to here, and we have a double connector on the red. So I've got power from there also going down to wires for the brake switch, the rear brake switch light, and there's also a brown in there that goes up and along the back mudguard to the brake filament. So let's have a look around the other side. On this side we have the ignition components. So there's the exciter box and the ignition coil, and there's only two wires that come out of the exciter box. That's an orange one and a black one. Now the black one goes to this metal mounting bar, this steel mounting bar that, well, it's the core of the ignition coil. The way they've got it on the wiring diagram is connected to one end, and then the other end you connect to earth on the engine. So that's what I've done. Now it's very handy, this orange wire, because this is why I wanted to use just a straightforward ignition switch. What I've done is just, instead of taking that to the coil, I've taken it to the ignition switch and then a little jump to the coil. So this on and off will either isolate or allow the ignition to work. Now let me show you two wiring diagrams and it will explain all of this. This is the wiring diagram that comes with the unit, and it shows the new stator you get, the regulator rectifier, the CDI box. This one's got a battery, and then the coil. So there's all the wires I mentioned. Look, two yellows and the blue, black and white that go down to the CDI, and the black and orange to the coil. As I say, we broke into the orange here. Now an interesting thing here is when they use it with a battery, you'll see how you have the normal thing where the battery feeds power to a bulb, which then goes to earth, and the other side of the battery is earthed. But I'm using their little power pack, and I noticed that in this one, see, here it is coming out of the here's the power coming out the power pack instead of out the battery, and instead of it just going into the bulb and the bulb earthing, the bulbs come back along that black. They go back into the power pack. So here's my wiring diagram. I don't know how well you'll be able to follow this, but anyway, there is the stator. So we've got yellows going to regulator rectifier, and then the red and black coming out to the power pack. The wires going to the exciter, going to the ignition switch. There's the orange one getting broken by the ignition switch, so orange in, out to the coil. Coil is earthed, as I mentioned, and that's basically the only thing that's earthed, apart from the kill switch. There's a black and white from the exciter box which goes to the kill switch. So what I've got here from the power pack is black and red. And here, oh, I forgot, I haven't even put a wire on. Wow, let me put it on now. Okay, and that one is green. So we have power, which is going to go up here, just behind the headlamp. It goes onto the horn, so we've got power at the horn, and then the other horn wire goes up to the dip switch, so the horn circuit is right. Then it carries on to that little light switch, and there in the on position, and I forgot this wire originally, it comes back down the green to go to the back light, and then it goes blue and white into the dip switch, and then we have the two powers coming back to the bulb, high and low beam. And at this end we come off the red again to go to the brake light switch, and then a brown to the brake filament, and there's that green coming in. So that filament comes on when you switch the headlight on. This filament comes on when the switch works. Alright, so all of that is done. I haven't got the backlight yet, so I just have two long wires hanging out for there, and I have two long wires going down to that because I haven't put that on yet. But otherwise, all of that will work perfectly, nice and simple, and it's all done. This last thing has nothing to do with the C15, but it's in answer to a comment I received. I had a question about how the chain tension works on the B25, B50, the oil in frame frames, where it's done at the swinging arm pivot and not at the wheel. So I was going to write the comment, and then it suddenly struck me it'd be a lot easier to just show this. So here's where the swinging arm mounts, and as you see, it's not in a round hole, it's in a slot. And you'll notice there are two fixed pins. The other side is identical. The swinging arm has this sort of snail cam on it. There's one that goes on the other side as well. So you put that in there, and where are we? When that's on there, from the centre of there to the centre of this pin is 1 1/8. Now, because the pin is fixed and these holes gradually move away, if you turn this around, because the pin won't move, the centre of the pivot's got to move. So if we go to say, stick it there, we are now almost 1 1/4 inches away. So we've moved that way 1/8 of an inch, and if we go right round to there, it's actually 1 3/8 inches. So we've moved this 1/4 of an inch, and you can put it on here and continue the movements as well. So that's how it works. It's just a snail cam as you would have at the other end. Instead of having little dimples in it, it actually pins onto here. And I have one which was on one bike, which I was hoping to find, but I can't find it anywhere, where somebody had the chain too tight and it actually mangled these holes where the pin was. It had just ripped it because that was pulling. All right, so I hope that explains that, and I hope you all stay safe, and I hope you all enjoy yourselves.